One of the barriers to stable housing often shared by homeless people is that they wrestle with some form of mental illness or addiction.
Well, mental illness poses a great challenge, I think, for many individuals to both find housing and to maintain housing. One of the problems is that there is limited income that individuals with mental illness have. Many of them are unable to work, and so they may be on a subsidy from Social Security of some kind. And so there are limitations as to what they can afford. That may allow them to access subsidized programs that are out there, but of the 3,000 people that we work with, 500 of them, for example, have no Medicaid, have no Social Security, they don't have an income. And so one of the challenges is that many of them really do not have adequate income even to afford subsidized housing and do not qualify for it. Another major hurdle is that with the mentally ill adult population, there is a large comorbidity of substance abuse. And that can eliminate people from consideration for housing, or at best, it makes the stability of housing much more tenuous for them. And so many of the individuals that we work with struggle to access housing or maintain housing because of their substance addiction or substance abuse problem. And in the overall population, you know, it's conservative to say that more than 50%, I think, of adults with a severe and persistent mental illness also have a substance abuse problem of some kind or other.
Folks that have really significant mental health challenges oftentimes have trouble working. And so the lack of enough mental health services then kind of leads into ending up homeless. And I think if we had more robust mental health services, more comprehensive, that you could get into them in a timely way, that people then wouldn't end up losing their housing and becoming homeless, which, by the way, only adds. So if you've got a mental health challenge and become homeless, that only adds on top of what other kind of challenges you've had. Being in a homeless shelter is a really tough and challenging environment, and so if you've got mental health or substance use problems, it only just exacerbates it.
I struggled with alcoholism from an early age, but I was able to function. I held a same job for 22 years. And other work also. Then life got stressful for me. I had a lot of emotional things happen in my life, and I became emotionally, physically, and physically bankrupt. And I became homeless. And I lost everything I had, and I slept outdoors for several years. And then all of a sudden I was very ill. I was very sick from my alcoholism and my mental issues, and I decided that I wanted to get help. And I've tried to get help several times, but it never stuck with me. And this time around, it did. And I went to get help, and I seriously wanted it. I had a choice whether to live or die, and I wanted to live.
Substance abuse and mental illness frequently go hand in hand. In addition to the complications these struggles alone can pose to affording and maintaining a home, people with certain kinds of backgrounds sometimes find themselves being blocked from systems of support.
Individuals who may apply for housing assistance through our organization may have had some barriers to housing. And those barriers can come in multiple forms. It can be, income. One common barrier is always a poverty issue. It also can be issues where, a person may have mental health or substance abuse issues that may have caused them to lose their prior housing. It also may be barriers associated with, not being able to navigate, the various application processes that various providers may have. And unfortunately, there's a lot of stigma that comes with the persons that we provide the housing to. If persons disclose that they have a history of homelessness, or if they disclose that they have a history of mental health or substance abuse problems, or even some past criminal convictions, Unfortunately, those barriers can create a stigma, and those persons are systems or organizations or companies find ways to screen those persons out.
There are housing resources. If someone did not have a mental illness, if someone did not have a serious substance abuse problem, if someone did not have, let's say, a very serious criminal history such as sexual offending or something like that that was interfering with housing, there are people that can move through the resources that the homeless provide for housing to stabilize them. I think the challenging piece for many of the folks that work with the homeless is that many of them, their presentations make it difficult for them to house or to house consistently. And so you see people that cycle through the system, often with numerous attempts, and it's these other things that prevent them from being able to attain or maintain stable housing.
When left untreated, it is easy for mental illnesses and addictions to cause people to slip through the cracks.
I am an addict. The reason I say I'm an addict because there is no cure. I have been homeless for about 20-some years due to my addiction. I had a boyfriend that I was with for 15 years, and it was an abusive relationship. So anytime he'd get drunk or out of money, he'd beat me up and put me out. So that was my homelessness.
When you are in the midst of an addiction, unfortunately, the drug becomes your best friend, your coping skill, your lover. It is all you care about. And at the same time that you're doing that, you're really giving yourself very shame-based messages because you know at some level you're not who you want to be.
I guess I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm getting old, going back and forth to jail. You know, my kids are grown, I didn't raise them. Have grandkids here now. And I'm still out here in the streets looking stupid, don't know where I'm gonna lay my head the next day or what I'm gonna eat or what I gotta do to lay my head. So I got in trouble for soliciting. A week later, I jumps in the same undercover's car. So then it's like, girl, you got a problem, and when you gonna realize this?
If I'm going to use, well, I'm certainly not going to be dusting and vacuuming because I'll be using. And I may not be taking the best care of my child who might be watching television way too much or who I'm not simply watching. I think it becomes your entire focus of your existence. And it said big time at the same time knowing you're not doing what's right. So then the trap is to use a little more so I don't have to feel.